Fitness. We got a lot of minutes in. I think there's definitely a lot more positive to take than negative in terms of performance. I think the result doesn't always dictate that. So you got to watch the tape and get better. Even the past game, we were down a man for a significant portion of time and generated just as many chances as they did. So there's a lot of positives to take, but I think we're getting healthier. We got people coming back. We got numbers returning, which is always a big help. And ultimately, I think mentally, the break is fantastic for us. Physically, we need a rest, but I think mentally, to get away from the pitch, we got some puppies out here today. Give the boys a little bit of a break.
You kind of mentioned that you guys were down 65 seconds, but you're still competitive and you're still aggressive trying to get those shots on goal. Even though the score's not showing, what can you take away from that and take it towards Portland?
I think if we play that way with that mentality, that aggression, we're going to win more games and get more results than not. You could see that minute 75, we still are down a man and we have our front five pressing, running, and then guys are keeling over as the game's over. And with that aggression and that energy and that mindset, that's going to take us a lot further than we deserved on the weekend. But again, we got to look back and correct some mistakes as we always do and get better and learn from those mistakes and move forward against a tough opponent.
You get to play a former opponent of yours, your former home team. What can you take away from playing at Providence, playing on the turf? And you've had a few experiences already, but what can you take away from those matches and give to the team to take into this weekend?
Enjoy it, first and foremost. It's a great environment to play in. The fans always are loud. They always bring it. They bring energy, excitement, and it's a big game. I think for us, it's been good to have some time in between these this busy schedule, right? And to kind of get back, focus on the basics. But enjoy it. It's going to be a tough opponent who's been in very good form recently. They've turned it around of recent, and it's going to be a fun game against a good opponent in a good environment. I mean, what more could you ask for?
You're missing a few key players, and you mentioned some players are coming back, and you still have that next man mentality. As a veteran, what can you take away from this adversity? This 3-game losing streak, and tell the other players hey, let's not worry about it. You guys are still performing well.
Yeah, I think it's not about getting punched in the face. It's about getting up after you do so. And for me, when it comes to these tough moments, when it comes to whatever excuses people may or may not throw out there, it's about focusing on the little things, focusing on the fundamentals. And for me, this week of training is going to be extremely important for us, extremely good for the boys to get out there to battle, to get our legs back, to focus on tactics, to do some of the basic stuff as defenders and in the attack as well. So for me, it's about controlling the controllables and doing that. And it's a lot of cliches, don't get me wrong, but I think once you bundle it down and break it down into its most simple form possible, doing those things right will put us in a great position to get a result this weekend.
Just the fun one. What's it like to just have some puppies out here, kind of have some fun vibes going on with the team?
It's awesome. You see a side of guys you never typically see. Obviously, the dads have the caring side. Robin's with his family over there, sitting on the grass, enjoying life. But for some of the younger guys, you get to hear their baby voice, which is an interesting one, and to see them smile a bit. It's just a good influx of energy, right? And I think it's about being positive and moving forward. Again, there's a lot of positives to take. Yes, some negatives to take from this past week, but this is a great start. I can't think of any better way to start the week off.
Cool.
Thank you.
Just the group coming in to start the training session this week.
Yeah, I don't think anyone could pretend to be happy about the situation that we're in at the moment. So we're critical with ourselves, looking in the mirror in a very critical way. But I think for me, it's always important that we balance that with taking the context for what it is. And we are in a very difficult situation, and to some extent that is for reasons that extend far beyond what would be the normal things you put poor results down to, which would be things like attitude application, training culture, the way in which the game plans are put together, the way in which we adapt to opposition, and I think largely that's not been the case. I think we've been really unlucky over the course of the last couple of weeks with a perfect storm of circumstances that have meant that we've had a lot to deal with beyond what would be normal, but we're trying to make sure that we strike that happy medium between being critical, pushing the group that we've got to get results, but also keeping the bigger picture in mind, because we know full well there's light at the end of the tunnel coming.
Results aside, you seem to always be able to take some positives out of a game, whether it's a position group or certain elements of the game. Do you see that with the players too, and their mindset?
Yeah, and you wouldn't get a sense of a group at the moment that is on the run that we're on, or has lost the momentum in the table that we had, say, 2 weeks ago, because number one, they know the context, they know the big picture at play here, and they also know that we're working now not just with Saturday in mind, but trying to build a culture so when players come back into the group, when we sign players in the window, they're coming into a culture that means we're going to be successful in the long term, and they're also trying to balance that with the grind of getting through the games at the moment and picking up as many points as we can. But I think they're a sensible group that know that we're onto a good thing here, and know that if we continue as we are and we continue to build the culture that we've got here, we'll be in a really good place when everything falls back into place.
And heading to a place like Portland where they have a really good fan section, the Timbers Army, is there some positives in that for a group that's sort of it's us against them mentality going on the road like that?
Yeah, definitely, and we've taken that mentality into each of the last 3 games. We take each one as it comes. I think we really used our home crowd on Saturday to good effect in difficult circumstances, and it's definitely the case that a group like ours can use the away crowd as well. We can be a team that takes that back to the wall mentality that often galvanises a group, so we'll really try and play on that, and we're hopeful that we can go and put in a really good away performance and see where that takes us with the result.